What Israel should have said, what, you're taking us hostages? You know what? You're our hostages. We're surrounding you. We're not letting any supplies come in. The idea that you could kill people if they don't believe the right thing, this is what turns Islam evil. Well, if we're the Zionist entity, everybody else is the anti-Zionist entity. What are we going around calling people entities? It's so incredibly insulting. Never in the history of the world has a country that was attacked by another country said and gave that people the supplies while they're at war with them. The golden rule, under certain circumstances, requires us to kill. And since the Arabs are considered part of the minority, we let them say whatever they want, because if we criticize them saying this, we're going to hurt their feelings. But all cultures are valid, and it's their part of their country to say that's to Jews, that's to Israel. You can't do anything about it. It's legitimate. Meanwhile, in Western countries, we're so concerned about microaggressions. It's warped morality.
Hi, welcome to another episode of the Peace Cafe podcast. Today we're going to be interviewing an interesting guest, the founder, you could say, the one who started it all. My father is Kalman.
And I generally go by Izzy.
Izzy. Let's go with Izzy Kalman. I usually
No,
call
it's
you
okay.
Bob.
Bob is good also.
All right. So we actually took the name of the podcast that we've recently changed it to from a bit of your history, or I guess shared history, when you managed the Peace Cafe in Eilat. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
I actually owned the business. My partner and I, in 1981, I moved to Eilat, and we opened a gift shop with a friend of mine. But as soon as we opened the shop, the war with Lebanon, the first Lebanon war, began, and tourists stopped coming. So even though Eilat is the opposite end of the country and is in no danger from the war in Lebanon, tourists stopped coming. We're sitting in the store, there's no business. So there was a bar in town which my partner thought had good potential, and it's known as the Peace Cafe. It's been around for a long time, and it did terrible business. So we spoke to the person who owned it at the time, who owned the business, not the physical property, but owned the business. And he was interested in leaving, so we paid him to sell us the business. And I took it over. I ran the Peace Cafe, and my partner ran the store. And we had it for 2 years. It was a very interesting place, not terribly peaceful. I sold alcohol very cheaply and also on credit to alcoholics. So the place was pretty dangerous.
Sounds like a really good business strategy as well. I'm sure you made money hand over fist giving out free beer.
I was a lousy businessman, as always. I could have made more money by working less hours.
Yeah, well, I think that's a lot of people. All right, so you went from there. Why'd you move to Israel when you knew how dangerous it was in the first place?
No, at the time, Israel had wars, but I grew up with the love of Israel. My parents were Holocaust survivors. I had a great awareness of Israel, and it was a dream of many young people to go live in Israel. It was a great place for young people. It wasn't a bad move.
You spent some time on a kibbutz?
A couple of years before I moved to Israel, I was on a kibbutz for a half a year doing an ulpan program. Ulpan means you learn Hebrew. So half of the day we worked in the fields or in the chicken coops or turkey coops, and the other half of the day we learned Hebrew.
Sounds pretty idyllic.
It was a great half a year. I loved it. Yeah.
And from there you went back to the States?
I went back to the States. I got my master's degree in clinical psychology, and then I moved back to Israel. Mm-hmm. I moved to Israel in 1978 after getting my master's degree, and I needed a job, and a friend of mine, a psychologist, suggested that I look into working in schools. So I did, and it seemed like a good job, and I took the job, and it really was a great job. The pay was terrible. Mm-hmm. I was working very hard and just managing to pay my bills. And after a few years of working, my friend who had moved to Eilat was working in a gift shop, and he said, I want to open a gift shop of my own that I wouldn't do without a partner. And I gave it no thought, but I went to visit him in his gift shop, and I saw, wow, people are waiting online to spend $10, $20 on trinkets. Why am I working so hard? And I'm not saving any money. Let's open up a business.
Mm-hmm.
So I left my job and we opened up a business. And as I said, the war in Lebanon started, so the store did pretty lousy business. And a couple of years later, I went back to working as a psychologist in schools.
Mm-hmm. And at that point, had you already developed your theory on bullying, your approach to it?
The beginnings, because working in schools and in meeting with kids, I discovered the most common complaints of kids is that they're being picked on by other kids. And it's no secret why it happens. If you get upset, you get picked on. So I would use role playing to teach kids how to handle being picked on, and they would stop being picked on. I did this with tons and tons of kids. I also saw how teachers intervene in bullying complaints, and they unwittingly make it worse. And it was clear why they're making it worse. So I would teach them how to make it better with very little effort. I saw that when parents would get involved in the fights between their own children, the fights would immediately escalate, mm-hmm. because both kids want the parent on their side. So they fight harder. They become prosecuting attorneys against each other, trying to get each other in trouble with the parent, the most important person in the world to them. So it's obvious to me why it makes it worse. So I would counsel parents how to not get in the middle and how to deal with it in a way that makes things better instead of making it worse.
Eventually, you started giving seminars around the country, traveling.
Because what happened was in 1999, the Kalman high school shooting shocked the world, and my God, these victims of bullying are shooting up their schools. They're also committing suicide. We have to put an end to bullying. And I knew I had to deal with this problem. I'd been doing it for 20 years. But then this field of psychology that I had not been familiar with, the bullying psychology, stepped up to the plate, claiming they have the solution to the problem of bullying. And when I saw what they're teaching as a solution, I knew it can't possibly work. They're taking just about everything that makes the problem worse, and they're presenting it as the right thing to do. And to me, it was mind-boggling that nobody else saw it. I mean, it's so obvious why what they're proposing to do is going to make things worse, but everybody goes along with it. So I realized, my God, I have a mission here. I have to change the way the world is dealing with bullying. So I ended up leaving my school psychology job. I got a position with a seminar company that gives continuing education seminars to mental health professionals. And for 12 years, I went around the country teaching my approach to bullying and anger control and relationship problems. Mm-hmm. The Columbine high school massacre pretty much changed my life.
Yeah, we felt it too. You came to Israel hoping to continue or at least engage with the Rav Fruman approach here. I think that was a big part of it.
Yeah, I first moved to Israel in 1978. Mm-hmm. I ended up getting married, and lo, then you were born. And we were still living in Eilat, and Mom actually took over the store from my partner. He left the country, went back to Argentina, and Mom actually did a much better job than my partner in running the store. And I went back to working in schools. And I would help out in the store also. But in 1988, we felt that Eilat is not right for us anymore. It's a small town, the southern end of Israel, far away from everything, and the educational system was not very good. And we wanted a better place, so we were deliberating, should we move to the center of the country or should we go abroad? And we decided, let's go to the United States for a few years. So we moved to the States, figuring we'll be there a few years and then come back, but it took 27 years to come back.
You took your kids going first.
Yeah, all three of you came back first, and then we moved back. It was the right time. to come back to Israel.
Mm-hmm.
But meanwhile, in the States is really where I developed my approach to bullying more. If I didn't go back to the States, I'm not sure that I would have developed what I ended up developing.
Mm-hmm.
Because in Israel, bullying wasn't seen as such a big problem like in the States and most of the Western world.
I seem to recall you, or maybe us in the family, maybe not you specifically, talking about applying that to Jewish Arab relations or Jewish Muslim relations.
Yeah, but I developed a system for treating people like friends rather than enemies. Because you can't get somebody to treat you like a friend if you treat them like an enemy. But I realized, and not because I learned this, but I began to realize that we treat people like enemies in many ways and we're not even aware of it. And in teaching kids how to deal with bullying, I would teach them to treat their bully like a friend. And some of the rules are, don't get angry, because you get angry at enemies, not if you want to defeat your enemy. Don't defend yourself. We defend ourselves from enemies. Don't be afraid. We fear enemies. So I would show how to use these rules to treat your bully like a friend rather than an enemy. And if you do it properly, it works very nicely. And it's true for the relations between Israel and its neighbors. Unfortunately, we tend to treat them like enemies. Now, of course, they are our enemies because they're fighting us, but treating somebody like a friend doesn't mean that they are your friend, but you can't expect your enemy to change the way they treat you if you continue treating them like an enemy. You have to treat them like a friend, which doesn't mean you let them do whatever they want. If a friend is doing something wrong, you have to let them know. But you have to let them know in a way that they can accept, rather than in a way that will make them become more hostile towards you. And we generally don't do that.
Mm-hmm. So what would be a way that they can accept in this particular situation?
Okay, let's say I'm a representative of Israel and you're the representative of some Arab group. I have to treat you with respect. When I talk to you, I have to show you respect, not treat you like you're an idiot or you're an evil person. If I do that, you'll treat me back like an idiot or an evil person. I have to show you respect. And if I show you respect, you'll be much more willing to accept what I'm saying than if I don't show you respect.
You don't feel like we've been respectful enough to their leaders?
No. And also not to the general Arab population.
Mm-hmm.
We argue against them. We present our case and we try to show how they're wrong. And we get passionate and angry and forceful in the way we talk to them, thinking that if we speak more forcefully than they do, then we're going to win the argument.
Are you referring specifically to everyday kind of interactions, more things in the Knesset? I mean, what?
In general, I mean, the Knesset is terrible. In the Knesset, the Knesset members don't only treat, the Jewish ones don't only treat the Arabs like enemies, they treat each other like enemies. Yeah. They get angry, they yell at each other, they insult each other. It's a circus.
Yeah, that's certainly a circus. I think on the street, though, it's a different story. I think in general, we're more respectful.
Oh, yeah, on a one-to-one basis, we're more respectful. But when it comes to dealing with serious problems, we're more into trying to prove that we're right and defend ourselves from what they're saying instead of...
I find it hard to agree with that sentiment when the opposite would be just accepting whatever narrative they present.
You don't accept whatever they say. But one of the rules that I developed for treating people like friends rather than enemies is if you hurt me, all I should let you do is let you know how you're hurting me. Because what we do is if you hurt me, I get angry back. The natural response to being hurt is to get angry back. But if I get angry at you, you're going to be angry back at me. But if I just let you know how you hurt me, how what you're doing is hurting me, you're much more likely to listen to me and accept what I'm saying.
When I was a kid and you were teaching this, and I think even recently, that same rule doesn't apply to violence. At least you said it doesn't.
It depends on the situation. If somebody is determined to injure you or kill you no matter what, of course you have to defend yourself and attack them back if necessary. You can't let them hurt you. But when we're dealing with our so-called bullies, these are people that are regularly mean to us. They put us down, they threaten us, they push us around. It happens over and over again. But we don't realize that we're treating them like an enemy. We're afraid of them, we stay away from them, we get defensive, we're doing things wrong. So one thing I teach is, let's say you hit me, you're trying to provoke me. You're trying to get me to get upset or to push you back. If I push you back, you'll probably push me back again, especially if you're bigger and stronger than me and you're not afraid of me. So instead of pushing you back or hitting you back, I'll ask you, are you angry at me? Because I tell myself, if you push me or hit me, you must have a good reason. You must be angry at me.
But I think you're looking at this from a Western paradigm. Your perspective is one of somebody who I don't think everybody connects with that.
Not, if you're dealing with somebody who's determined to kill you or to injure you, this is not going to work. They don't care.
What I'm saying is that the emotional appeal just doesn't work with everybody, even if they're not meaning
No,
to kill you.
It doesn't work for everybody.
I think there are even cultures that it doesn't work for.
If in a culture where it doesn't work, then you do what does work. The serious problem today, which is a life and death situation. Israel can be destroyed. We can destroy our enemy. So many people are dying. So much destruction is taking place. And it really could have been avoided. We're just doing almost everything wrong. And the reason we're doing things wrong is because we don't have a clear sense of morality when it comes to warfare. Mm-hmm. And we do things wrong. In the current situation, Israel is trying to destroy Iran's ability to have a nuclear bomb. And Bibi Netanyahu has been working for decades to try to stop them. And the truth is he has succeeded in stopping them until now. Mm-hmm. Several years ago, he went to the American Congress and addressed them. He's been teaching over and over again, we can't let Iran have a nuclear bomb. Mm-hmm. And he's right. You have this country run by ideological fanatics who are determined to destroy Israel.
And the West.
And the West. You can't let them have a nuclear bomb. But he's been focusing on the nuclear bomb. But that's not the real problem. That's just the top level of the problem. The most dangerous weapon is not a nuclear bomb. There are countries that have hundreds of nuclear bombs. The only time nuclear bombs have ever been used were at the end of World War II. Since then, not one person has been killed by a nuclear bomb. The most dangerous weapon is the hate-filled mind. A hate-filled mind is the most dangerous thing. A person who's filled with hate could take a knife and kill people. Take a car, make a weapon out of it, run into people, kill people with a car. And it doesn't have to be your car. You can rent a car for $25 and kill tons of people. You can borrow a car and kill people with it. The really terrible thing that Iran and other Islamic countries have been doing is teaching hatred of Jews and hatred of Israel and hatred of the United States. For decades, we have been letting Iran declare death to Israel, death to America, death to Jews, and, with thousands of people cheering it on. And we treat it like it's just speech. One of the problems is we don't understand freedom of speech. Everybody knows the concept, and we have freedom of speech and democracy, but we don't really understand it in depth. And I've heard many people, and people who are brilliant and people who I admire, who say, I'm a freedom of speech absolutist. And a couple of people, Elon Musk has said that, professor of psychology, God Saad, has said, I'm a freedom of speech absolutist. And then they follow with a qualification. I'm a freedom of speech absolutist, but nobody is a freedom of speech absolutist. Freedom of speech is not meant to be absolute. Uh, there, there are things that you are allowed to say thanks to freedom of speech, and there are things you are not allowed to say. And the rule is very simple. Speech that causes subjective harm is permissible. And subjective harm means that if you say something to me and I feel hurt, I really hurt myself. You insulted me, so I feel hurt. Uh, you disagreed with me, so I get angry at you. You're wrong. You are allowed to insult me. You're allowed to disagree with me. This is permitted by freedom of speech, because whether I get hurt by what you're saying depends on me. It's subjective. You can call me an idiot and I'll get angry at you. You can call me an idiot and I'll say, you know what I did was really stupid. I can't believe I did that. And I don't get angry, and we will be friends. What freedom of speech does not permit is speech that causes objective harm, which means that if you say it and I get hurt, you are the one who hurt me. And the classic example is yelling fire in a crowded theater. Why is that illegal? Because the very act of yelling fire is going to cause people to stampede and trample each other, and they can die. People have died in stampedes, so you're not allowed to say fire in a crowded theater. But that's just a very clear example. Hatred is not permitted by freedom of speech. Saying death to Israel is not something that a leader of a country is allowed to say. Because if a leader tells his people, death to Israel, death to America, he's instructed his people, we got to be ready to go kill those people. It's legitimate to kill them. That's not acceptable. Let's say we're ordinary citizens, and I tell you, Yanai, I am going to kill you. And I have guns, I have weapons, and I've killed people before. Am I allowed to say that to you?
I'd hope not.
It's a crime. You can call the police on me and get me arrested. And if you don't have time to call the police and I'm coming to kill you, you are morally obligated to kill me before I kill you. So saying, I'm going to kill you is not protected by freedom of speech. For a government to say death to that country, this is not covered by freedom of speech either. If I'm the leader of a country and I declare death to your country and you're the leader of a country, that's a declaration of war. I don't have to actually send missiles at you or shoot you in order for you to legitimately fight me back. The very act of saying that death to your country, that is a declaration of war, and you're allowed to do whatever is necessary to stop me from killing your people. But we've allowed these Muslim countries to go around spreading this terrible hatred of Jews, demonizing them, saying that the greatest thing that you can possibly do is to kill Jews, and if you kill a Jew, you're going to go to heaven and get 72 virgins. This is not permitted by freedom of speech. That's a crime to do that. But this is what's happened. They've turned their populations. The hatred against Israel is unbelievable. And why do you think on October 7th the Palestinians were so overjoyed killing Jews? Because they're so full of hatred, and the Jews are the devil. And so to kill these horrible people is a wonderful thing. They didn't think it's a bad thing. It's a wonderful thing. And another thing they did was that for decades, Qatar and other countries, including Saudi Arabia, they're doing it less lately, but they've been spreading hatred of Israel for decades. They've been setting up madrasas where they teach hatred of Jews, and they've been setting up departments, Middle East studies departments in universities throughout the Western world,
and funding those universities and
with billions of dollars. Everybody claims, AIPAC, the Israel lobbying organization is so powerful and they've spent so much money. It's nothing compared to the amount of money that the Arab countries have spent fomenting hatred of Jews.
And they actually have a bunch of bigger PACs that are Muslim-based than AIPAC. AIPAC is number 20 on the 20th largest lobbying group and the 199th largest in campaign funding. And there are several just Muslim organizations that are bigger than that are putting money into the government. And CARE actually just opened a new one. They're starting a whole new PAC for Muslim lobbying. And yeah, you can be certain that they're going to have more money.
Yeah. Jews are known for having money. And it's true, the Jews tend to be pretty good, well off financially, but we're nothing compared to the money that's in the Muslim world.
Yeah, got
they have billions and trillions of dollars from oil, and all they have to do is hire foreign countries to pull it out from the earth, and they become incredibly wealthy, and they have all of this money to spread hatred. They're far more wealthy than the Jews that are trying to defend themselves from the Arab hatred.
Yeah, but that's not part of the narrative that Jews control the world, and we're going to get blamed for that too somehow.
I mean, we could spend a bit of time talking about why there is anti-Semitism has been around for so long. I don't want to get into that now, but I want to talk about what's been happening here. We're facing nations that have many times more people than Israel has, and they are full of hatred towards Israel, and they're eager to see Jews and Israel being destroyed. And this is the real danger, and we've done next to nothing to stop it. Another problem that has enabled us to allow the Arab countries to do this is because in the modern political philosophy that's taken over, the idea is that there's an oppressor and there's an oppressed, and the oppressor is the bad guy and the oppressed is the good guy, and you have to take the side of the good guy, the oppressed against the oppressor, and the whites are always the oppressor, and people in Arab countries are brown, so they're a minority. There are like 50 times more
brown people
than us in Israel, but somehow they're the minority, and you can't hurt. One of the basic foundations of modern political thinking is that you can't hurt the feelings of a minority. Like, the worst thing to do is say something that hurts the feelings of a minority member. And since the Arabs are considered part of the minority, we let them say whatever they want, because if we criticize them saying this, we're going to hurt their feelings. But all cultures are valid, and it's their part of their country to say death to Jews, death to Israel. You can't do anything about it. It's legitimate. Meanwhile, in Western countries, we're so concerned about microaggressions. You have to be so careful what we ask people because it might hurt their feelings. Where do you come from? That could be a microaggression.
I feel like we're past the age of microaggressions. I think we're finally past that step. But it was.
But it's been going on for years. And
yeah.
We have been. The leaders.
I hope at least. Maybe I'm wrong, but from what I'm exposed to, it feels like it's finally over.
It's not completely over. It's still being spoken about. So the Westerners think the worst thing you can do is to say something that might hurt the minority members' feelings. But meanwhile, because we don't want to criticize them, but we want to accept them, we let them say death to Jews and death to America and death to Israel. Freedom of speech permits microaggressions. I'm allowed to ask you where you're from, even though it might be taken as a criticism that something, you're a foreigner or something. You're allowed to say a microaggression, but you're not allowed to promote violence. So because we don't want to hurt their feelings, we're letting them promote violence, which causes real death. There's been so much death because they're trying to kill us. But God forbid you say something that hurts their feelings. If we learned freedom of speech and understood it, we would realize microaggressions are okay, but you can't promote violence. Mm-hmm. And Bibi Netanyahu, instead of railing in the whole world against the nukes for Iran, he should be saying, look what they're saying about us. You're saying we're demons. You're saying we should kill them. I'm sorry, you can't say this. And it's much cheaper to do that than to fight with bombs. This war costs trillions of dollars.
I don't think telling them
trillions of dollars. But to promote an idea is very cheap.
But I think the end goal or the end result of both of those things are the same. We have to, if whether we're taking out the nukes or whether we're taking out the person who won't stop and will continue to try and destroy us, then it's the same war that we have to fight, isn't it?
If somebody is trying to kill us, we have to fight them. We have to defend ourselves, and if necessary, you kill them. But if we would stop them from promoting the hatred, we wouldn't have to deal with real violence.
That's for sure.
And the truth is, this idea that you can't, if you're in a leadership position, people listen to leaders. So what a leader says is much more forceful than what some ordinary person says. If some drunk in the street says death to Jews, nobody's going to listen to him. But if a leader of a country says death to Jews, lots of people are going to want to go out and kill Jews. So what leaders say has to be taken very seriously. When a leader says death to that people, that is a declaration of war, and you have a right to kill them if they don't stop doing that.
That applies well to the Arab populations in and around Israel. In Iran, it somehow backfired. The people hate the government so much that their rhetoric against Jews in Israel has kind of pushed them more to see us favorably. But if we're talking about here, we've had...
But Iran is a dictatorship.
Yeah.
A dictatorship is different from a democracy.
So you're talking about within the borders of Israel, outside of Gaza and Judea, Samaria. You're talking about in Israel proper, or is there... Because those are essentially dictatorships as well. I mean, Gaza is run like a dictatorship.
That's right.
PA runs.
We have allowed them to teach hatred, to teach terrible hatred. It's unbelievable what has been taught to the population of Gaza. From childhood, they're taught that the Jews are demons. The greatest thing is to kill them. The greatest thing is to be a shaheed. Even mothers are happy to have their children die as martyrs, killing Jews. There are videos documenting this. It's unbelievable, the hatred that's being taught, and we've done very little to stop it. Yeah. But that is the real problem. The Palestinians don't have... they have a lot of money because they get money, but Israel has better weapons, more power than the Palestinians, but it doesn't take a lot of money to cause destruction. The Palestinians have been fighting a very inexpensive war. Mm-hmm. They make these cheap missiles that they send into Israel that fall wherever they might fall and cause destruction. They take cars and they ram people. They fight a very cheap war. The Iron Dome costs many, many times more than the rockets they send in. The rockets that the Palestinians were sending into Israel cost something like $400 to make a rocket. The Iron Dome missiles to take them down are, I think, like $40,000.
I think the price has come down, but they're still very expensive.
It's like sending a car. The price of a good new car is what each of these Iron Dome missiles cost, and usually they send two for every missile. So we're spending billions of dollars with Iron Dome to shoot down these very cheap missiles.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. We have to go and change their education and do it for a decade or two at least before...
We have to complain. Our leaders have to complain whenever we see them teaching hatred.
But what is complaining going to do?
What?
What is complaining going to do? We've exposed all of it. We've shown the unread textbooks. We've shown the copies of Mein Kampf. All of it. We've shown it all. And the world doesn't seem to care. At least whoever hates us already isn't going to get swayed by that. If anything,
We
they
have
just start
not,
to side
we
with
haven't
Hitler.
done a good job of explaining why it's wrong to say kill the Jews. We haven't done a very good job. But what we've also done is we fight back physically. So uh, we fight back physically and we kill more of them than they kill of us.
We only fight back physically when they engage in some sort of massive attack. We don't
That's
just
right. But
randomly
why do
win.
they do massive attacks against us? Because they have been brainwashed pretty much from birth to kill us, and that is the greatest thing they can do. So they will attack us, and we respond more forcefully because we have a better army, we have better weapons, and more of them get killed than they kill of us. So then people look at this and they say that Israel is the bad guy because look how many people they're killing.
I mean, I get that relationship. So what you're saying is that in the interim between those attacks, we should have been exposing what their education is and just complaining about it.
We say this, you can't say this. This is a crime to be teaching this. And if you continue doing this, we will do no business with you. We're going to turn to our allies and tell them you can't have anything to do with this country because they are teaching hatred.
But Gaza doesn't survive without outside aid. They would starve. They would literally starve, and then we'd be attacking them by starving them.
The problem is that because people, the general idea is that you can't starve people who are trying to kill you. We've been feeding them and supplying them while they're trying to kill us.
Oh, I think that's absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, I understand that. Because
never in the history of the world has a country that was attacked by another country fed and gave that people the supplies while they're at war with them. And even the ultimate rule for morality is the golden rule. The golden rule is also not well understood. People think it means you have to be nice all the time. No, the golden rule, under certain circumstances, requires us to kill.
Golden rule, do unto others as they would do unto you?
Yeah, treat them like you want them to treat you. Don't do to them like you hate them doing to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And if everybody lived by the golden rule, life would be peaceful. But we don't understand the golden rule. We think it means be nice all the time. No, it doesn't mean be nice all the time. Let's say something snaps in my brain, and I decide that your people are the devil and you deserve to be killed, and I go on a killing spree. I have to ask myself, what would I want you to do if my brain snaps and I start killing innocent people? Kill me if you have to. Don't let me do this. So sometimes you have to kill people, the golden rule, because you can't let them do this horrible thing. The moral thing when you're fighting a war is to win in a way that causes as less damage as possible. You want to stop the war, you want to defeat your enemy, but with as little damage as possible. With the Palestinians, or with Gaza, when they October 7th happened, they took hostages. They're sending rockets at us. This is an attempt to destroy the country. Yeah. What Israel should have said, what, you're taking us hostages? You know what? You're our hostages. We're surrounding you. We're not letting any supplies come in. You want to live? Give us back our hostages and stop trying to kill us. You can live. The crazy thing is that everybody is complaining that Israel is violating international law or the laws of warfare. Meanwhile, everything that the Palestinians have been doing is a violation of international law. Taking hostages is illegal. Sending rockets to kill civilians is illegal. Fighting among civilians is illegal. making your bases under apartment buildings, under hospitals, under mosques. This is all illegal. It's a violation of international law. But because they're the victims, it's okay if they do it. But God forbid Israel kills more people than they kill of us. This is a terrible war crime. It's warped morality.
The thing is, I don't know where we're going to get with just complaining about those sorts of things while the world is still in the oppressor-oppressed dynamic.
But you have to combat that. And a lot of people understand that using speech to promote violence is not acceptable. People can understand it if you explain it properly. Most moral people will understand it, and we do that before we kill. Had we right in the beginning been saying, you can't be saying these things. If you are going to teach these things to your people, we are not doing any business with you. We're not giving you any money. We're going to stop our allies from having anything to do with you. Then they have no choice, and they'll give in because they don't want to starve to death. They want to have an economy. The problem is the world has been so brainwashed into thinking that Israel is evil, the worst country possible, that they automatically support the Palestinians and the Arabs whenever there's a conflict, because Israel is the worst, the Zionist entity. My God, this term, the Zionist entity. It's an incredible insult, and they use it against us. Well, if we're the Zionist entity, everybody else is the anti-Zionist entity. What are we going around calling people entities? It's so incredibly insulting. But the world loves this, especially young people, because young people want to feel like they're doing good and they have a cause. And for decades, the Palestinians have been presenting themselves as the victims, and they get into colleges and they'll have these plays where the Israelis are killing Arabs, and they get sympathy, and the young people just hate Israel, and they automatically support the horrible things that are being done to Israel because Israel is the bad guy. But also all of the countries that have been influenced by leftist thinking, and this is, most of the Western countries, they have come to accept that the worst country in the world is Israel.
Which is a total inversion, considering the ones making those claims are places like Iran and Iraq and South Africa with the highest murder rate in the world. And those are the biggest opponents of Israel, have the biggest problems themselves. And that's another theme that I feel like is going around a lot lately, that people are, at least inside of our bubble, you could say, are very awake to the fact that anti-Semitism is just a mirror, that you're just projecting whatever you've got onto the Jews usually. I spend a lot of time online. I want to rewind just a little bit. I used to be a lot more on the left, you well know. I thought Palestinians, were victims. I had a different view on Israel-Palestine than I do now. I was much more naive about our possibilities in any given moment to have peace through land, and just a bunch of things that now I think I was just completely missing the point. Not that I believed in the huge demonizations of Israel. Of course, I lived here for a lot of my life, almost half my life.
You know that Israel is not that evil.
Yeah, I know the people, I know the government somewhat, which has problems, but no, the people here are good. And I also know...
And Israel is the best place for Arabs to live in the whole Middle East.
Exactly. And when you do meet them here, they're much happier, I think. A lot of what I've been exposed to, I was going to get to this, at least since the 7th, is, I've been spending a lot of time on social media, in the comments, arguing with people, debating people, and the amount of just vile hatred I get is the kinds of comments.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah. People DM me awful things, or just straight up in the comments, and when you report it, Instagram does nothing, although, the reverse isn't quite so true. there's a double standard on free speech online right now, and that's hurting us a lot. Jews or
You can
Zionists.
say anything you want about Jews, no matter how terrible, but you can't uh, claim that the Arabs or the Palestinians have anything to do with their own suffering.
Yeah. I hope it's getting better, but still we have to be
It's starting to
careful.
get better, especially it's not wonderful, but because Israel has done such a great job in pinpointing their enemies and killing their enemies and doing this amazing warfare, we're getting a bit of respect. But we're also getting a lot of hatred.
We're getting a lot of blood libels as well. The amount of sheer propaganda. The most recent one that I encountered was a Harvard database, which isn't really, it's not published by Harvard or anything, but anyone can go and upload their files to this Harvard database. And an article was published citing one of those published articles, not by Harvard, but just in this agglomeration of people's thoughts, I guess, and used it to claim that the death toll was as high as 377,000 based on the number of people missing from Gaza, which, I mean, they misquoted it as well. But we also have a lot of allies going and debunking these, and I feel like that's been a really big asset for Israel is the non-Jewish people who are allies and who want to know the truth and go out and learn and find all the information and then come and debunk it. There's like 3 pages that I know that are just constantly, like, every day debunking.
Yeah, it's going on because there are always two sides of a conflict, and but it's not putting an end to the conflict.
Yeah.
And I don't think we're in any less danger, even from Iran, than we were before a few weeks ago.
I agree.
Especially if a deal is made where the Ayatollahs can remain in power.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to change anything.
Yeah. I'm stuck hoping that we've done enough damage for the people to rise and do the rest, but it also doesn't sound like that's the case by the Iranians that I see posting on social media as well. It sounds like they're afraid still to rise and take the next step.
They're afraid because their own government will kill them,
Yeah.
arrest them or kill them. You can't. There's no freedom of speech. You say anything critical, you're in jail or you're dead.
Yeah. It doesn't. It feels like we can't stop now, but
But
of course,
they're the good guys and we're the bad guys.
everybody waving a regime flag in the West should be arrested or deported. It's crazy to see that. It's the same. It's the pro-Palestine supporters shifted to being the pro-regime supporters, and it's the same people. They're supporting these dictators that abuse women and children and minorities and impose their religion on others, and it doesn't.
No Westerner would want to live in the country that they're so fervently supporting.
Mm-hmm. And the Islamists that do it, they should go live there.
Yeah. But I want to talk about what we're doing wrong because we're not understanding values properly. One of the things is this idea of proportionality, that supposedly a moral response to being attacked is a proportional response. So let's say on October 7th, the Palestinians caused 1,200 Jews to die and a few thousand to be injured and a few hundred to be taken hostage. A moral response would be to kill 1,200 of them, take a few hundred hostages, injure a bunch. Well, what's happened is that tens of thousands are killed instead of 1,200. So they say, so even smart people like Piers Morgan and Joe Rogan, even though they've spoken to so many experts who present them a reasonable view of the Israeli position, they still say, But 50,000 were killed. I mean, how could it possibly be right? There's something wrong here. It still has to be immoral. It's because this idea that you have to cause equivalent damage, and that's what's moral, is wrong. Sometimes equivalent damage is the morally correct thing to do. Let's say I steal $1,000 from you. The proper response is for me to pay you back $1,000, and maybe with an additional fine, to deter, for the theft. But it's not only actual damage that people get punished for. Let's say I attempt to assassinate the president. I don't succeed. He's not hurt at all. Do I go scot-free because I didn't cause any damage?
Yeah, of course not.
Of course not, because I attempted murder. The attempted murder gets punished almost as badly as real murder. I can get life in prison for attempting to murder somebody, and there are countries in the world where you will actually be killed if you attempt murder. Capital punishment is done to such things. So, what is the appropriate punishment to attempted crime? The Torah has a perfect answer, and the answer lies in the subject of colluding witnesses. Let's say you and I are witnesses, and we swear in court that somebody else killed somebody, but the court discovers that it's not true. We lied. Do we go scot-free?
No.
We try to use the court system to kill that person. Mm-hmm. So what is the appropriate punishment for lying in court to get somebody else hurt? The punishment is the court does to us what we attempted to do to that person. So if we attempted to kill that person by lying in court, we deserve to be killed. If another country is trying to destroy us, the appropriate response is not to look at how much damage they did to us and do the same amount of damage. What you do is you have to, the morally proportionate response is to do to them what they tried to do to us. What they tried to do was...
Well, they tried to genocide us, so I don't know.
It was an attempt to destroy us. The intention was for this to bring about the end of the Jewish state. And they didn't only, kill some people and take some hostages. They sent more than 5,000 rockets in one day towards Israel. 5,000 rockets. If it weren't for Iron Dome, it would have caused untold damage, untold death, and it would have brought the country to a standstill. It would have paralyzed the country.
It was also supposed to be coordinated with Hezbollah.
That's right.
And
and only for some strange reason, maybe God or something, Hezbollah didn't join the same day. Mm-hmm. If they joined the same day and they had supposedly 150,000 rockets pointed at Israel, not at other countries, this is all meant to destroy Israel. So Iran launched this expecting it to be the destruction of Israel. So the appropriate punishment is not to kill the same amount of people, but to do to them what they tried to do to us. They built in Gaza, they turned Gaza into an underground terrorist fortress, a military base against Israel. That's what Gaza is. It's a military base with apartment buildings on top of it. Hamas certainly deserves it to be destroyed because they tried to destroy Israel. Mm-hmm. The Iranian government deserves to be destroyed because they tried to destroy Israel. They were the orchestrated October 7th.
Yeah. I agree with you.
So
Absolutely.
people can understand this, but it has to be presented properly. About a year ago or a little more, I wrote an article about this. I think it's an excellent article. I sent it to smart people. Nobody latches onto it. I don't understand why. I think it's such a clear explanation. You do to them what they're trying to do to you. And it usually requires killing more of you than you killed of us.
But every time that happens, you have the international community
That's
bearing
right.
down on our heads, stopping us.
That's right, because they don't understand the morality of proportional response, what it really means. They think it means an equal damage. No, you do to them what they're trying to do to you.
Yeah.
Let's say I attack you with the intention of killing you. I decide that I'm going to kill you. You don't deserve to die. But you're a great fighter. You stop me from killing you, and you throw me down, and I break my back, and I have to go to the hospital. Do you get punished for breaking my back?
I think it depends where you are. But you shouldn't.
You're absolved of guilt. So another country that tries to destroy us, if we end up destroying them to protect ourselves, that's legitimate. Now, if you can stop the country from destroying us without totally destroying them, that's even better. As long as you can, stop them from trying in the future to kill you.
Mm-hmm.
A ceasefire, which is only, they're going to try to regroup and kill you again, well, that's not going to work. You do what you have to so that they stop being a danger to you.
I think in this case, we don't really have too many choices of how to go about it. I think the only way to stop them from attacking us is regime change, because that's their particular type of Islam. It's like
That's right. Now,
or something.
That's another point I wanted to make. Netanyahu has the wrong goal. He's saying that the goal is to get rid of their nuclear capacity.
I think the narrative has shifted, though.
Maybe it's been shifting a little bit in the last day or so. But he's been saying that, no, the goal is not regime change. The goal is to prevent them from getting a nuclear bomb. But meanwhile, everything they've been doing has been for regime change. We haven't only been bombing nuclear facilities. We've been destroying the Air Force, the military. We've been killing military leaders, government buildings. We are destroying their infrastructure because to change the regime.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people think that regime change is an illegitimate goal. It's not legitimate.
Well, when you back people like the Mujahideen or ISIS, like the West has done in the past, then yeah, it's illegitimate because you're just putting in a worse option than the one you're trying to get rid of. But in this particular case, and it's not the same for the Arabs in Israel, but in this case, they have at least a transition leader, who's talking about democracy and the will of the people, and who has their support, and who has had military officials turncoat for him. And we're not, and I'm still reeling from Trump stopping things, I guess. I hope there's more behind it. I hope it's some sort of tactic. I hope he just wants the Nobel Peace Prize, and then when we start again, it'll all be good.
I think Trump actually has a more correct idea than Netanyahu, at least based on what Netanyahu's been saying. In this agreement that Trump announced that we have, he's telling both sides to stop with the hate. The hate has to stop, which is true. The hate is the problem.
But we don't hate them.
We don't hate them. They hate us more, but the hate has to stop. So he's if the hate stops, that will solve the problem. But Netanyahu has not been saying we have to stop the hate. We have to stop them from getting nuclear bombs because you can't let them have nuclear bombs.
But maybe that's because Netanyahu is more of a realist when it comes to that government. They're never going to stop hating.
But why isn't he declaring openly that the goal is regime change? Which is a moral goal because the regime is evil. They're trying to destroy us, and they also oppress their own people. Their own people Most of them would like to get rid of the regime. So there's nothing immoral about regime change. In fact, one of the basic things in democracies is you have a vote every once in a while to change the regime.
Mm-hmm.
No, nothing wrong. Regime change is often a valid goal.
Yeah, and there's an option for that there. And so Americans are constantly saying we don't want to get involved in this war. It's not our war. It's Israel's war. But who backed the Ayatollah in '79? Who essentially installed him as the dictator in replace of the Shah? And for what? For oil prices. I mean, it's very clear that's what it's all about. So this is an American problem. Carter did this. I mean, he was the driving force behind it. Of course, he had the British and the French with him too, but and I'm sure other actors. But he was the driving force behind the Ayatollah taking power and everything that's happened until now. 46 years of just violent oppression, and to not have that reality as something that is in the psyche of the American people, I think is a big problem. And they need to realize that this is actually an American problem, that it isn't actually.
There's a more obvious reason why it's an American problem. Iran doesn't only say death to Israel, they say death to America.
Right.
When, if they say death to America, the proper thing for America to do is to destroy their government.
Mm-hmm.
They're not allowed to do that. That is not protected speech. It's a declaration of war. So they have declared war against America. How can you let them just go about doing it? Now, the craziest thing was Obama. He made this nuclear deal with them, and then he told the Americans that, this is a wonderful deal. Meanwhile, after signing this deal, the Iranian leadership laughed at us. They ridiculed America, and they kept saying death to America.
Mm-hmm.
This is the worst deal ever. And Trump often says that was the worst deal ever, and he's right.
Yeah.
You make a deal with people, you say it's a great deal, and meanwhile they say, we fooled them and we have to kill them. Insane.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if that's, and I don't know if that's Western naivete or if it's really just bad intentions.
It's hard to prove what somebody's intentions are. So we can assume that he has good intentions, but from good intentions, hell often comes about. The good intentions are not enough. The article that I wrote about 8 or 9 years ago was about how Obama could bring peace to the world. And I explained these things. The biggest danger is a hateful mind. He should be saying that he's a wonderful speaker. He should be making speeches to the world that we have to forbid people from teaching hatred. The real problem of Islam, or much of Islam, is the belief that we have a right to kill the infidel. If you're an infidel, you deserve to die. It's a good thing for us to kill you. This is a terrible thing. The idea that if you don't believe what I think you should, I can kill you.
It's one of the big problems for sure, yeah.
It's the number one problem, that the Jews are the infidels, so they have to be killed. Christians are infidels, so it's a good thing to kill them. That country is an infidel country. You have to destroy them.
Yeah.
You can't have peace like that. It's not according to the golden rule. According to the golden rule, I shouldn't impose my beliefs on you. I can't force you to accept my beliefs under punishment of death. And you can't do that to me either. Freedom of religion.
Mm-hmm. But
there's no freedom of religion in they call it radical Islam. There are people who say that it's in regular Islam. That the killing of infidels is a basis of Islam.
Mm-hmm.
I won't get it. I'll let other people debate that, but it's certainly part of Islam, and it's the basis of Islamism. That you have to kill the infidel. This is horrible.
Yeah,
you have to fight this idea. Anybody can understand that the idea that I'm allowed to kill you if you don't believe what I think you should is totally unacceptable. And if you spread this, then we can maintain the problem. But this is not what's being taught.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and for those sorts of purist Muslims, the moderates who don't believe that way are the same as infidels, essentially, to be killed.
Yeah. I call it the infidel meme. The meme is a kernel of thought.
Mm-hmm.
The idea that you could kill people if they don't believe the right thing, this is what turns Islam evil.
Mm-hmm.
And there has to be fought and people can understand it.
Yeah.
And I think, instead of spending hundreds of billions and trillions of dollars fighting wars and killing people, you can spend a fraction of that money presenting the information correctly and spreading it throughout the world, and getting countries to refuse to have anything to do with any country that promotes the infidel meme, that it's okay to kill people for having the wrong belief.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that would go a long way in settling a lot of our problems.
Yeah, and if this had been done right in the beginning, we wouldn't have had all this warfare all these years.
Yeah.
But we've allowed them to promote hatred and the idea that it's okay to kill people, and then we're devastated when they actually do that.
That's been our problem since the beginning. We let the wrong people off the hook in the end.
Yeah, the worst thing that happened to the Palestinians was when Israel agreed to accept Yasser Arafat as the representative of the Palestinians.
Mm-hmm.
He's a terrorist. What's he going to do? He's going to create a terrorist entity, which is exactly what he did. They should have refused to accept him. And what people don't understand, people talk about how the Israelis have oppressed the people, the Palestinians, since 1948. The best thing that happened to Gaza and the West Bank after 1948 was being occupied by Israel. It wasn't better for them under Jordan or under Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
But when Israel captured them and took them over, it brought them out of the Middle Ages. Education, infrastructure, water systems, electricity, sewer systems. It was the best thing that happened to them. And there are many, I was living in Israel at the time. Until Arafat was installed, you can travel wherever you want in Gaza and in the West Bank. They can travel throughout Israel. It was wonderful. I was sure that peace is going to happen soon, because we're on the road to peace. It was wonderful in those days. And many older Palestinians who remember those days will say, yeah, those were good days. The worst thing was to bring Yasser Arafat and make him the representative of the Palestinians.
Mm-hmm. So funny. It's a bit unrelated, but it made me think of the 90s. Like in the 90s in the United States, I was growing up there. We were living there at the time. It didn't feel like there were as much tensions between like black and white. There was, but it's not like today. It feels much more prevalent, at least a lot more polarizing as far as the public discourse. And, of course, Black Lives Matter, all those.
It's because of the ascendance of leftist politics.
Mm-hmm. Maybe the same trajectory of where Gaza headed towards extremism is, the Judea and Samaria as well is a similar possibility in the United States if they don't stop the polarization of based on race, which
it's being reversed. Trump came along, he got rid of DEI, and he's getting the country and much of the world to be normal again. He's promoting common sense.
Yeah, for sure. I hope
one of the worst things that we've done because of leftist ideology is we've allowed children to undergo irreversible operations to make them feel good about being the other gender. It's mutilation. It's horrible to do such a thing. But that's because one of the basic ideas of leftism is the worst thing you can do is hurt somebody's feelings.
Yeah.
So if I feel bad being a man and I think I should be a girl, well, the right thing to do is to try to change me to be a girl.
Yeah, you have to affirm them, affirm what they think or what they feel about themselves,
Yeah,
even if
because I
it's
have to feel
wrong.
good. I can't feel bad, being a guy when I think I should be a girl.
Maybe it's the same thing we're affirming Islamists.
Yeah, well, that's right. We're agreeing with them that Israel is the cause of all problems, that it's evil, and so they do terrible things to us when we retaliate. That, oh, look, they've killed poor Palestinians, poor innocent Palestinians. It's a trap that the Muslim world set for us, and we have fallen into the trap. It was very clever to spend all of this money re-educating the world to see Israel as the source, as the ultimate evil.
Mm-hmm.
It worked beautifully.
Well, we're at about an hour 20. Is there any final message, any last idea that you want to cover before we wrap up?
I think that's pretty much it.
All right.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure talking to you. And,
Yeah, likewise.
I'm proud of the work that you're doing. You're trying to save Israel and at least and the world. And you look really good too.
Yeah, you're my dad. You have to say that.